Welcome back to the Loveland Report and Lone Ranger Show. We are Cleve Loveland alongside Bruce Woodburn, the Lone Ranger.
That's me.
Going to give you all your real estate and mortgage news this weekend. Thanks for tuning in. I've got a couple of things I want to jump into. I've got some more numbers. I love digging into these stats to tell you how the market's doing. I've got big tech real estate news. Beware. And mom and dad's house. What do you do with that? We're going to talk about that and all the different situations that can arise out of that. And Bruce is going to tell us about how the rates are awesome.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're dropping
Just plummeting.
Yeah, they're just
plummeting.
6.59
to 6.52.
Yeah,
plummeting.
I will tell you this though, with rates getting worse since the bombing in Iran, this week and part of last week were a bit of an improvement.
Yeah.
We saw some improvement. Now, we're not all the way back to where we were prior to the war. However, we're about halfway back.
Yeah.
So we're going in the right direction.
But these numbers that I have, Bruce, everything shows that sales are up, even with the rates being higher, which is what's really amazing. So,
and applications were up for me. It's funny because I don't think that the rates are really keeping people from jumping in right now. I think the same people that may have sat on the fence are still sitting on the fence thinking, like I talked to a guy the other day, he goes, oh, in 18 months, we're going to have a crash. It's just going to crash like
in
crazy.
18 months,
because of this AI.
So in the meantime, I'll throw 50,000.
AI conspiracy theorist. And he was like, oh no, everything's lining up. This is going to be worse than the Great Depression. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to get off the phone with you. And the guy, he called my office saying that he wasn't sure if he was related to me, but he had his grandfather's last name was Woodburn, and he thought he might be related to me from Ohio. And I'm like, no, not related to anybody from Ohio.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not related to anybody.
Well,
in
Scott, we got 3
states.
3 years till Skynet, according to the Terminator movie from 35 years ago, whenever that was. But I just think somebody says, oh, I'm going to wait for 18 months. That's probably 40 to 50 grand worth of rent.
He wasn't. He think that the market's just going to crash. And I'm like, and meanwhile, he calls me because he wants to invest in a like a hardware store, the old Archard hardware stores. He wants to revive them. I said, well, if the market's going to crash and AI is going to take over, who's going to be going to a hard? He goes, oh no, that's the most sustainable business. I'm like, oh my God.
All right. So what's going on with rates?
I'll tell you what, your average rate right now is running at 6.66. So we're up a little bit from where we were, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
Since last week, I had 3 contracts come in, four offers. All of them, I had my seller agreeing to give 3-4% in closing costs.
Yep.
And we weren't going above list price. These sellers are like, okay, let's get this done. We've heard 36 months now or 40 months on high rates, slow real estate. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But the main thing was, now I did have one of those. We did have tons of activity. And I think we ended up over list price on that one because the property, we didn't give as much on the price. And we just padded in the price. It'll appraise no problem for 10,000 over list. But these are the kinds of things that come with working with an expert realtor. And I just think in our numbers right now, active listing. Now this is Florida. This is the Central Florida MLS, which runs from like Ocala out to the beaches over to Tampa. Listings down 14% from a year ago, less inventory. New listings, even with last year. So not a bunch of inventory coming on the market. So next time, here's another conspiracy theory for you, Bruce.
There's
a wave of foreclosures coming. Anyway.
Yeah, there is a wave. Yeah. You know how many, there's 4 of them coming.
A wave is 6. Yeah, the numbers went up 50%. And that's the headline you'll see too. Pending sales up 8% over last year. Days on the market, about the same as last year. Average price up 5%.
You know what? I love that news.
And then months of inventory. About a year ago, average time on the market, or the supply was about 5 months, which is a slow seller's market. 6 months or more is a buyer's market, down to 4.2 months. And so literally, if we keep going another month like this, stay ahead of last year as far as the number of active listings, and the sales remain. I'd like to beat last year. We're not ahead of 2025 yet because I think because rates went to 6.5, but I think that's where we are getting appreciation. I just had somebody bought 2019. Can you call it perfect timing or what? Little starter house. And that median price house, that's the one skyrocketing because everybody needs it. The renters want it. The landlords want it. The first time buyers want it. And the downsizers want it. That's the price. That's the home I like to see people renting, the 3-2 with a 2-car garage. That's some people making a very pretty profit. And they're moving to a more expensive market in North Carolina, and they'll be able to get a decent house. They're going to sell in the 4s. They're going to be in the 599 range up there for something nice, but they're going to get their dream home.
Absolutely.
So all these numbers come into play.
A lot of folks moving down here too. I mean, I've got a lot of out-of-state buyers. Hey, if you have questions for Cleve Loveland, he can be reached now. He's working this weekend at 407-352-8118 or cleveloveland.com. Again, his phone number is 407-352-8118, the voice of real estate here in Orlando. Chances are one of those rooftops have been bought, sold, or managed by Cleve Loveland and his team. Great team here, really knows what they're doing, makes the customer experience a better situation. I am proud to be partnering with Cleve. I have for a number of years. I help most of his clients with their financing. My name is Bruce Woodburn. I've been in the mortgage business now for 36 years. I've closed tens of thousands of loan transactions. And I'm right here in your backyard, and I would love to help you, your family members, when it comes to purchasing your next home or refinancing a home, maybe building your home from scratch. Maybe you're getting up there and you don't want to make a mortgage payment anymore and you're over 62 and a half years old. Maybe it's time to entertain a reverse mortgage. So we have all these products and everything is done in-house. I'm not brokering it out. I'm not shopping your credit all over town. Matter of fact, I don't even start with a hard credit pull, Cleve. We start with a soft credit pull.
Yeah.
When you're ready to make an offer on a house, we'll go ahead and convert that. But until then, no,
and I think people should have an application in with you. I've got some buyers that say, "Oh, our lease isn't up for 6 months." I'm like, "Get your application in, figure out where you stand." He can help you with your credit score. Their credit score is awesome. I think it's in the low 7s, but if they get it up to 740 or above, don't they get a better rate?
It's unbelievable. Yes, absolutely. And it used to be where Fannie Mae, if you were above a 760, everyone was the same. They must have changed their pricing models. They're risk-based, because I ran one for a client the other day at 760, and then I ran it at 800, and it gave them a little better terms.
Wow.
So they've gone up. But it used to be where if you had a 725 credit score, that was considered a pretty decent score.
And what's funny is now the algorithms and the pricing, and you guys know there's no foreclosures out there because you guys know what a bad loan looks like.
You know why there'd be foreclosures out there when Americans have more equity in their properties than they've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you bought a property last year and you went 100% financing or FHA or minimum down, and you lost your job and then had to sell, you could be a
But
problem.
there's so many ways now, and this is what's funny. As long as I can remember, up until 2008, about 5% of the market was foreclosures. But there are so many ways now to not get foreclosed on. They will work with you on the short sales, and I'm assuming that's because they realize that saves them more money than foreclosing on you. You know, the house sitting vacant for 2 years.
Banks don't want to foreclose on people. They don't want to own your real estate.
And there's also the FEMA game. When a hurricane blows through, I had some people do that. Not that I advise it unless you really need it. I had one young seller did that, and he would have made great money on his home. And I go, and then we get this payoff, and his payoff had an extra 70 grand on it from 2 forbearances he did, or 3 forbearances he did for every hurricane that came through his area of Kissimmee, just because he could. I go, "Did you lose your job?" No. I said, "Could you not make the payment?" He goes, "Yeah, I can make the payment." I go, "Why'd you do that?" And I go, "Where's the money?"
Because I could.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I've had clients that have done that before. It's the worst thing. Matter of fact, and here's what's going to happen. When you call your mortgage company, they can't tell you not to go into forbearance. They're not allowed to do that. If you're running into trouble, they can't say, "You just got to make your payment." You can't do that. But what they'll tell you is that if you have to go into forbearance, we'll add them to the back side of the loan and it won't affect your credit. That is a big lie.
Yeah.
They'll all affect your credit.
Yep.
So when they tell you that, don't believe it. It will absolutely affect your credit. And don't go into forbearance unless you absolutely can't make your payments. It needs to be a last resort, because it will affect you. I've had clients that did that for no reason at all, just like you said, because they could. Then rates dropped and they wanted to refinance, but they couldn't refinance because they had to get through that forbearance period.
Pay your bills.
So if you can't call and get a lower rate on your loan when you're already telling the bank you can't make the payments you got.
Yep.
Doesn't work that way, folks. Call the loan arranger. If you have questions about it, I want to be here to help walk you through the process so that you always have the right information. Bruce Woodburn, Cross Country Mortgage, the loan arranger at 407-250-9140. or go to webringyouhome.com and get your application started right there. Simple, easy, and everyone gets a face-to-face meeting with me.
How much time we got? My timer's not up.
No, I took it off, but we got it right here. We have about 3 minutes.
I dove into some numbers, Bruce, and this is what I want to talk about. This is where, when I sit down with somebody and make their real estate plan, help them with a plan, I'm looking at your numbers. And your numbers really are going to be the homes for sale around you, or the homes for sale where you want to buy, the kind of house you want to buy. And number one, what price point are you at if you're buying? Bruce, you say, all right, you're good to 500. You got 10% down, you're good to 500. And that's why it's so important to look at the market around you, because the market, people ask me, how's the market? They say, oh, I hear real estate's bad. I've had some of my best years over the past couple of years because we work hard and I work with a lot of people. Now, what most realtors don't know how to do, because they don't have a sales manager, they don't have a boss, they're virtual, they've never reported to anybody. That or it's a side hustle. You got to be aware of that. They don't know how to say, all right, you've been on the market you're at 800,000. You've been on the market for 3 weeks with no offers, and you had 7 people through the door. What was the feedback? Okay, within 2 miles of you, homes between 750 and 825. What sold over the past 3 weeks? That's the market absorption rate.
You're analyzing each individual situation, so you have accurate data.
It's separate. Everybody's market is their market. Are they selling a luxury home? Are they downsizing?
You can't compare Tampa with Orlando. You can't even compare Lake Nona to Claremont. It's not the same.
Depending on your price point and where you're at, there's some markets that have, like we talked about, 4 months supply is really, that's almost a balanced market. About 3 months supply, I would say, is balanced. And I go into some markets like the Deltona. Tons of homes for sale. I'd say there's probably a 7-month supply of $350,000 homes there. You go into the rental market. I've got some homes that I actually had to go down a little bit on rent, because the builders up and down this corridor along Pleasant Hill Road and John Ham Road on the way to Point Siena, south of Kissimmee, 10 builders building homes, all 1,700 to 2,200 square feet. Every subdivision there, plus the 10 others that have been there for 25 years. All that affects the rental market. So all these things come into play.
It does.
If you want to make a real estate plan for you specifically and your goals and your needs, call me 407-352-8118.
Or call Bruce Woodburn and get your mortgage started right here. I can promise you, your bank, your credit union, Rocket Mortgage, none of those places are going to do a better job for you. I'm a direct lender. I'm in all 50 states. I'm not brokering anything out. And if you think a broker is a better deal, a broker is looking to shop your mortgage to who's going to pay them the most money. Why do that? My loan officers on my team aren't commission based. They're salary based. They don't have an incentive to try to sell you a product. Matter of fact, I would fire anyone on my team if they ever tried to persuade a client to doing something that made more money. That's not right. It should never be done. You should always put the client first. And I'll promise you, that's always going to be the case in my office. You can't go to a business and that business only has their bottom dollar first. You should always be first, period. And if you don't feel like you're first and you come to me, you should fire me, because I will promise you, I will always put your interest ahead of mine. I've turned down more clients, told them not to do. Matter of fact, I had a client this week. They wanted to do 2 mortgages. And I said, not yet. I mean, you're not ready for it just yet. They wanted to refi. I said, it's not time for you to refi. Your rate's not low enough to make a big enough difference. Then they want to buy a DSCR. I said, let's wait. Let's get the refi down, get you off of this VA on that one to use your VA on the next one. This is Bruce Woodburn. I'm the Loan Arranger. You can reach me now at 407-250-9144 or webringyouhome.com. Cleve, what's your number?
407-352-8118. I'll be working all weekend. I'm off the gun range and out to work.
There we go. Cleve and I'll be back in 5 minutes with more of the Loveland Report and the Loan Arranger Show. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.